We start Kufid Gimel, Amud Aleph, that's 113a. And we're at the top, we're at the Mishnah. We're talking about knots and tying a knot on Shabbos. If it's a permanent knot, it's a problem. So it says, Kaishin Dali Ipsakya, Abulay Bechevel. You could tie a knot with a belt, a bucket. Dali is a bucket. You're tying the rope to the bucket, but you can use a belt, but don't use a regular rope. The explanation for that is that the rope you're going to leave there, but a belt you're going to want back. So it's not a permanent thing; it's a temporary thing. So for a temporary knot, that's acceptable on Shabbos. Rabbi Yehuda allows a rope. We're going to see exactly what type of rope. Klalam Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda gave a rule. Called kesher she'ein shel kiyamin chayav alav. Any kesher that's not permanent, you're not chayav. Taisus has a difficulty with this statement. His difficulty is Rabbi Yehuda was just mater for something that's not permanent. Comes along Rabbi Yehuda says you're not chayav. Not chayav means that it's aser. So he gives two possible answers, but whatever, let's learn the Gemara. The Gemara asks, Chevel Demai, what type of rope are we talking about? If we're talking about a regular rope, that we're talking about there's a bucket, use the bucket to get the water out of the well. Rabbi Yehuda Mater, Kesher Shel Kayamahu. That rope is tied to the bucket, that's a permanent knot. You can't be mater that. Ela Chevel de Gardi. It must be a weaver's rope. Now, I'm not sure exactly what that means, but it must mean some sort of item that he needs and that he uses. So it's not really a permanent rope. It's not really a rope that he's going to leave on the bucket. Where it says the Meimra, the Rabbanan Savri Gozin Chevel de Gardi at Chevel de Alma, Rabbi de Servele Gozinan. Does this mean to say that this is the explanation for the Machlekas? The Rabbanan hold that you're not allowed to use a rope, you're allowed to use a belt. When they say you're not allowed to use a rope, they include in that also you're not allowed to use even a chevel de gardi, a rope of a weaver. Why? Because there's a gzeira. If you use the rope of a weaver, you might end up using a real rope. And Rabbi Yehuda holds, no. A real rope, I agree, is usher. But there's no gzeira of a rope of a weaver for a real rope. This is something else. Is that the explanation? That's the Gemara suggesting, and it's going to ask on it. As the Rabbanan started off the Mishnah saying that Tanna Kama holds that you're not allowed to use a rope. Rabbi Yehuda says you are allowed to use a rope. And really what they're arguing about is a weaver's rope. And the discussion is, did we make a gzeira and a weaver's rope because of a regular rope, a decree? For a minute, but there's a problem. There's a contradiction. You quote a Brisa, a Mishnah. Chevel deletion ifsak. Let's say the rope on the bucket broke, snapped. You can't tie it into a knot, but you can do a slip knot. I don't know, einvei means a slip knot or a bow. Sounds like a bow, but it's some sort of slip knot. Maybe a bow is a slip knot, actually. You pull it out. And that's the... So the Rabbanan allow this einvei. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, kairechalav pandai psakya, you just wrap over it. Punda is a type of hollow belt, and psakya is the belt like we mentioned in the Mishnah. But you cannot make a slip knot. Here Rabbi Yehuda is very strict about a slip knot. The Rabbanan are lenient. So it looks like the Rabbanan hold of making gezeirus. Well, a slip knot looks like a regular knot. And Rabbi Yehuda says, don't make gezeirus about knots. Now that contradicts what we learned in our Mishnah, at least the possible explanation of our Mishnah, that the Rabbanan hold that you make a decree because of one rope, because it might you might use the other rope. The weaver's rope may end up being used. You may end up using a real rope. And Rabbi Yehuda says you don't make the decree. So the Gemara says, Kasha de Rabbi Yehuda ad Rabbi Yehuda, Kasha de Rabbanan ad Rabbanan. The strictness of the Rabbanan in the Mishnah contradicts the leniency of the Rabbanan in the Brisa. And the leniency of Rabbi Yehuda in the Mishnah contradicts the stringency of Rabbi Yehuda in the Brisa. The Gemara answers the Rabbanan ad Rabbanan like Kasha. There's no contradiction between the rabbis. Chevel b'chelav nechlav. The ropes, they could get interchanged. They're both ropes. One a weaver wears or uses, and the other one is just a regular rope. People see that using this type of rope, they'll think it's allowed. They'll use a real rope. Aniva b'kshira le'mechlafa. But everyone knows the difference between the two types of knots. So the Rabbanan are makpid on the types of ropes that we need to make a gzera. But the type of knot, there's no reason to make a gzera one knot because it looks like another knot. Rabbi Yehuda le'kasha, and we can resolve Rabbi Yehuda's, the contradiction of Rabbi Yehuda, where Rabbi Yehuda was lenient in the Mishnah. Here the Gemara gives an interesting answer. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't make a gzera in the Brisa that says that a slip knot looks similar to a real knot, and we have to make a gzera. Because if you would make a gzera, then we would have a question: why does it make the gzera by the two types of ropes? So it's not because of a gzera. Ela aniva gufa kshirahi. This is his shita, that a slip knot is a knot. There's no gzera there. So the Rabbanan do have gzeras, but they have gzeras only in certain things regarding the rope. But Rabbi Yehuda doesn't have any gzeras. So why does he say that's us? He holds that that's us. That's us not because of a gzera. That's us because that's what it is. It's a knot. He holds that aniva, a slip knot, is a kshira, is a type of knot. Amar Rab Abba, Amar Rab Chia Barashi, Amar Rav. That's a different version here. Some say in the name of Rabbi Yechanan. Okay, whatever the case is, maybe Adam Chevel Mitech Beisei, Bekoishrei Bepara Ube'evas. A person can bring a rope from his house and tie it to the cow and to the Avas. Avas is a feeding bucket. So I guess the bucket would go over his head and he could eat while he's... It's a sort of like a pacifier with real food. So it goes over the head of the cow, and it can eat always while it's walking around. The chiddush here is that you're allowed to take a rope and tie the bucket, tie one end to the bucket, one end to the cow. That's a chiddush. Because when you take it off, you can take it off with only untying one side. You don't need to untie both sides. So the Esrei Rabacha Aricha Tuhu Rabacha Bar Papa or Rababa. We had this once before. Rabacha Aricha, which is Rabacha Bar Papa. I guess Rabacha the Tall. He asked to Rababa, Chevel Shabebas Kosher Bepara, Shabepara Kosher Bebas, Vachli Yeva Chevel Mitech Beis Vikshar Bepara Bebas. We have a brisa. It says that if the rope is attached to the feeding bucket, you're allowed to tie it to the cow. If it's attached to the cow, you're allowed to tie it to the feeding bucket. However, make sure that you don't tie it to both the cow and to the feeding bucket. It's a direct question on the statement of Rav that said you're allowed to tie it to both. My answer is Hasam Chevel D'Alma Hacha Chevel D'Gardi. Here we're talking about the rope of a gardi, of a weaver. Which sheet is this? Who holds that? You're allowed to use the rope of a weaver. That's Rabbi Yehuda of the Mishnah. Taisa says the chiddush of Rav is that he's passing like Rabbi Yehuda. Gives another option. What's his other option? He says that over here the Rabbanan would be Maida. It's slightly more complex. Taisvus, in his second answer, says it could be that the Rabbanan would agree over here that there's no gzeira on a chevel de gardi. Why? Because even if I would use a real rope, I wouldn't leave it there forever. So therefore, on a chevel de gardi, I don't make a gzeira. In other words, this case would be an exception because even originally, it wouldn't be a kesha shel kayama, a permanent knot. So if I use it's a step removed from that, if I use a chevel de gardi, then there's no gzeira. Whatever the case is, Rav is telling us that you can tie both if you're using a chevel de gardi, which doesn't seem to be much of a chiddush, other than that he's passing like Rabbi Yehuda, or it's a huge chiddush, and the Rabbanan he's going according to the Rabbanan, and over here there's no gzeira for whatever reason. Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Rav Yehuda says in the name of Shmuel, Klei Kivoi, Mutal Tantal Meshabbos. We mentioned Muktzah. The tools of a weaver. This may be, I don't know if parts of the loom or other tools that they have. You're allowed to move them on Shabbos. By Rav Yehuda, they asked from Rav Yehuda, Kavira Elyain, Kavira Tacht and Mahu. What about, there's two large sticks that are part of the loom. On each end, one has the cloth that's already made, one has the strings that are being woven. So what about those? They're very heavy. Are they so heavy that moving them is considered a malacha? Keli shemalachta le'iser. So, keli shemalachta le'iser, I'm allowed to use tzerich gufay makaymay. It's clearly a keli shemalachta le'iser. Do we say that it's so heavy, maybe that it doesn't go under that category? Or maybe we're asking, is it b'chlal a keli shemalachta le'iser? Not sure. So in V'lav Rafid Yadi, Rav Yehuda doesn't answer. One time he says yes, one time he says no, and the matter is loose in his hands. This is he doesn't know. There's no clear answer about these two beams. Itmar was a statement of Rav Nachman Amar Shmuel. Rav Nachman says in the name of Shmuel, here we get a clear halacha. See, Rav Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel earlier, but he left out the law about the beams. Now Rav Nachman says in the name of Shmuel, Keli kavoy mutal tatal m'shabbos afilu kavod elyon v'kavod tachton. Yep, even the beam, the upper one and even the lower one, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. Avalei samudim. However, if it's a loom that's used by the housewives, so they have a standing loom, and they put the one of them is on top, and they weave it downwards, I think. But they have poles that are in the ground. So those poles you're not allowed to remove from the ground. Amalei Rav Nachman. Rav says to Rav Nachman, why not? Rav Nachman was the one that was saying this over. So Rav says to him, what's the problem? Is the problem that when you take it out of the ground, you make a hole in the ground? Gumas melakavin. The holes are made automatically, which means the holes were there already before because the stick was in the ground. You're just taking it out. And when you take it out, the hole is there, but the hole was there anyway. Ditnan. Look at what it says. We have a Mishnah. Taiman lefes. It's neinas tachs gefen. I guess one of the ways of storing vegetables would be to put them back in the ground. Now, they wouldn't really grow there, but they would be preserved. So if someone puts a turnip or he puts radishes under a grapevine, it mixes alav megulin, and there's different versions of this. It may mean actually the leaves, or may mean the leaves aren't there, but part of the top of the stalk, part of the turnip is sticking out.
So, it's not a problem. Leimishim kalayim, you don't have an issue of kalayim that you planted something in a vineyard. Leimishim shavias, you don't have a problem if this was harvested in the 6th year and you put it back in the 7th year to preserve it, that it's as if it's now planted. And now it has the halachas of shvias because this is last year's crop. So what's it doing in the ground? That's just the refrigerator. For leimishim meiser, and there's no problem of taking meiser. If you have to take meiser again because it regrew. When you tell them b'Shabbos, that was our main point. And you're allowed to take it out on Shabbos. You take it out on Shabbos, you're making a hole in the ground. Now the hole was already there. It was filled up with the radish. But so what? The pole of the weaver was also in the ground, and you said you're not allowed to take it out. So the Gemara answers, where's this planted? This is planted, it's not planted. Where is it dug in? It's in the field. Our issue is, are you going to fill up the hole and make the ground straight? When it's in the field, you don't care about the little hole over there. The water will get deeper into the roots of the grapevine. It doesn't hurt anyone when you pull out the radish that there's a hole over there. But in the house, you pull out a pole, right away you push the dirt back up to make it, the ground should be flat. So over here, our issue is not the making of the hole, the issue is the mashvi gumas of filling in the hole. And that was the explanation for what Reb Nachman said in the name of Shmuel. Boy minei Reb Yochanan me Reb Yehuda bar Livoi. Reb Yochanan asks from Reb Yehuda bar Livoi, Klei kavoi kegan kavod elyon ukavod atacht and mali tatel m'Shabbos. Seems to be the same question. Are you allowed to move those two beams on the loom on Shabbos? Are they muktzah? Amalei ein metaltelen matam lefi she'en nitalim. It says you can't move them. The reason is because they're too heavy. So that's considered, in other words, even in the weekday you don't move them. So it means it only has one malacha, only has one purpose, and you can't use it for anything else. Okay. You have a Mishnah now. It's about folding clothes. And folding clothes could be fixing them. If they need to be pressed or something, if you fold them properly, that's sort of like pressing them. And that shouldn't be done on Shabbos. However, there are certain clothes that you can. We'll see there's a bunch of conditions here. When I went, I used to stay at people's houses because from Providence, we didn't have a yeshiva there. So I went elementary school, I went to Muncie. So one of the houses that I stayed by, they had older bachrim, an older son that was there. So remember, I don't think I was in the same, we slept together. But anyway, he showed me on Friday night, you have to hang up your pants because you have suit pants. It looks nice. You can't hang it over the hanger because you're folding it. What you do is you take the drawer and you put it, the bottom of the pants, the hem, you put it in the drawer, you close the drawer on it, you just let it hang down from the, he taught me, but the way he introduced it, he said, you know how to hang your pants on Shabbos? You know, like you know how to make a coffee on Shabbos? You know, it's like, okay. Anyway, the Mishnah says, "Mekaplan asakelim afilo arba v'chamisha pamim." You're allowed to fold clothes on Shabbos, even 4 or 5 times. We'll see, it's not so simple, but in other words, folding it over.
Kalim is clothes?
Yeah. Now, I think it means arba v'chamisha pamim means if he takes it off or he's going to put it back on. I don't know if it means 4 or 5 times folding it over as opposed to in half. I think it means many times. It means even if you you switch clothing, you're allowed to fold the clothing again. You you can make the bed from Friday night to the rest of Shabbos, but you can't make it from Shabbos, like Shabbos afternoon, you can't make it prepared for Motzei Shabbos. Yeah, it's a good excuse for the kids. Can't make the bed on Shabbos. Rabbi Shmuel Eimer mekaplan es hakelim, probably for the rest of the day you're allowed because it's supposed to look nice during the day. But if it would be already Shalosh this time, then that wouldn't be a problem. Rabbi Shmuel Eimer mekaplan es hakelim matzian es emitis miyom kippurim l'Shabbos. Rabbi Shmuel says you're allowed to fold the clothes and you're allowed to prepare the bed from Yom Kippurim, that means Yom Kippur, that's on Friday, for Shabbos. Making it like Yom Kippur and Shabbos are equal. B'chelvei Shabbos, if someone offers a sacrifice on Shabbos, not if someone, the sacrifices of Shabbos, it's talking about Kabbanas Tzibur, Kraven b'Yom Kippurim, those fats that are normally brought, if they're not brought on the day, then they're brought that night. Problem is that night is Yom Kippur, so that's not a problem. You can bring it on Yom Kippur. Avalishal Yom Kippurim b'Shabbos. But you can't bring Yom Kippur fat if Yom Kippur was on Friday, on Shabbos, that night, that Friday night. Means Yom Kippur is a little weaker than Shabbos, less holy. Shabbos could be brought on Yom Kippur, but Yom Kippur can't be brought on Shabbos. Rabbi Akiva Eimer, Leishal Shabbos Krem b'Yom Kippurim, Leishal Yom Kippurim Krem b'Shabbos. Akiva says he can't do any. Shabbos is Shabbos. There's no, you can't do any makeup for Yom Kippur for Shabbos or Shabbos for Yom Kippur. Amri Debei Rabbi Yanai, the yeshiva Rabbi Yanai taught. We're going back to the folding of the clothes. For if it's one person doing the folding, he doesn't fold it so well. So that's when it's allowed, because he doesn't really fold it well. But if two people are going to do the folding, that's aser. You can't have two people folding. And even when one person does the folding, it has to be brand new, where the creases are already there, the proper creases, and it's and you're not really accomplishing much when you're folding it because it's anyways brand new. It always has that nice straight look. Aval b'yeshanim, but if it's older clothes, even one person can't do the folding. It's going to be aser. And even if it is new, that's only ela b'levanim, only with white clothing. Where the folding doesn't make such a difference. Aval b'tzavuim lai, but when it's the cloth is colored, then you can't fold it on Shabbos, even one person, even new. We only said that you're allowed to fold if you don't have anything else to wear. That means that you don't have other Shabbos clothes. But if you do have other Shabbos clothes, then you can't fold. Wow, we had a Mishnah that permitted something. And in the end, we come out that there's so many restrictions. There's so many limitations to this Mishnah. It doesn't apply, two people can't do the folding. It doesn't apply to clothing that's used already. It's only new clothing. It doesn't apply to colored clothing. It has to be white. So that would only apply when you're allowed to fold clothes. If you have nothing else to wear, and it's white, and it's brand new. And only one person can do the folding. Otherwise, you can't fold. That's a big daichek from the Mishnah. The Mishnah sounded like it's referring to everything. It could be limited to almost nothing. Okay, Tana shel Beis Ram Gamliel. It was taught that in the house of Ram Gamliel, they didn't fold white clothes. They had other clothes. It was a wealthy household. See, a poor person, he has one shirt. So once a year, he changes his shirt. Rich person, he's once a month, even richer, once a week, even richer. It could be every day. If you're richer than that, what do? Every hour? Okay. So Amar Rav Huna im yesh le lahachlef yachlef. If someone has clothes, Shabbos clothes, he should switch his clothes for Shabbos. Otherwise, what should he do? If he doesn't have other clothes for Shabbos, he should let the hem. They used to have a rope, but they would tie it up a little bit. It shouldn't like hang on the ground. Should let it hang all the way down. This was an arrogant way of walking. You would let the clothing drag on the ground, but that's what you should do. Maskefler of Safra asks, you look like a balgaiva. You look like an arrogant person if you let your clothes like that. The answer is, given the kol yom like covered, you don't do it every day. You do it now in honor of Shabbos. That's not considered a balgaiva. Okay, some famous gemaras here. You honor it from doing your work. What does it mean you honor the Shabbos? You don't wear the same thing on Shabbos that you wear during the week. Whatever it is, you have to have a different clothing. It's whether it's the suit or the shirt or whatever. Some amongst Chassidim, they change every piece of clothing, the shoes, the socks, even the underwear, everything changes. They don't want to have any of the mundane. Usually, you put on a suit, that's kapat or whatever. And this is what Rabbi Yochanan says. Chassidus quotes this. He called his clothing my honor. So the clothing gave him honor. From doing your work, you're doing your activities. You're not supposed to walk on Shabbos the way you walk during the week. Well, the Gemara is going to have to explain what that means. How do you walk differently? From your affairs, from accomplishing your affairs. Your affairs are prohibited, but the affairs of the heaven are permissible. Look at the bottom Rashi. You see that? What is it? What are you allowed to do on Shabbos? You're allowed to accept on yourself or arrange tzedakah money, and you're allowed to make shidduchim. That's cheftzei shemayim. V'daber davar, and you speak matters. What is that? Your speech on Shabbos shouldn't be like the speech of the weekday. Discussion even about the Torah. Rashi says it's talking about business. Yeah. Here it says, the quote to Yerushalmi, it says, out of difficulty they allowed that you can even ask how you're doing on Shabbos. Okay. But it says, speech is what's prohibited, according to Rashi, business speech. And but you're allowed to think. Okay. Nitev Shabbos correct, right? We understand everything that was said here. L'chai is like it's good. It's true. But what are we talking about when you said that you're not supposed to walk on Shabbos the way you walk on the weekday? Kihad, Amar Ravuna says the name of Rav, Amila, Amar Abba, Amar Ravuna, and some say that Rabba said the name of Ravuna. Hey, Mahalach b'Shabbos. If someone's walking on Shabbos, Pagabama Samayim, he reaches a stream of water. If it's a small stream that you can step over it, that you don't have to leap, because when you lift up one foot, the other foot is still on the ground. If it was too wide, you'd have to leap. Both feet would be off the ground. If you don't have to leap, then it's mutter. But if you have to leap over it, then it's aser. That's not Shabbosdik to leap over. So the Gemara asks, 1 second. What are you supposed to do? Leikov, you want to walk around. Kamapish bilucha. You're adding into the walk. There's some sort of prohibition of extending your distance on Shabbos. I don't know if this is a real prohibition, but apparently from the Gemara, it's definitely enough of a question to say that it shouldn't hold you back from leaping. If instead of the leaping you have to take a longer walk on Shabbos, that's not Einik Shabbos to have to walk longer. You have to walk around the whole river, the whole stream. Liaver, what do they want you to do? To go through the water without leaping? Zimnan demasvas in mani maya. His clothing will get wet sometimes. Vasil de schita. He'll squeeze it out. That's a problem. So what do they want him to do? I mean, no, you're allowed to go over the water. You can leap over the water. Rebbe Shmuel bar Rabbi Yosi. Rebbe asked Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yosi, you're allowed to take large steps. Regular step, a pace, is 1 amma. Large steps are larger than an amma. You're allowed to do that on Shabbos. Are you allowed to take large steps in the weekday? Shani Yomer, I say, it's not good for your eyesight. It takes 1/100th of your eyesight every big step. You have to check if these runners, if they wear glasses, sprinters. However, you get it back when you drink the Kiddush wine. So it's not going to, my experiment won't work if they drink Kiddush wine on Shabbos. Another question. Are you allowed to eat earth? Eat dirt, right? There's a whole movement. Eat dirt. Some benefits, some minerals in the dirt. Are you allowed to eat dirt on Shabbos? Are you allowed to eat it during the week? I say you can't eat dirt during the week because it's harmful. Amar Rabami. Rabami says, someone that eats the dirt of Bavel, he's eating the flesh of his fathers. Because that's where they lived, that's where they were buried. And the body decays, and it goes into the soil. Some say it's as if you're eating worms and creeping creatures. It says by the flood that it wiped out everything that existed. What does that mean? That the shkatzim and remasim were wiped out, and now they're in the soil. Amar Reish Lakish says, Laminakish Shinar. Why is Bavel called Shinar? In the Torah it's called Shinar. Shekol Meisei Mabel Ninero Lasham, because the corpses of the flood, were were shaken into there, because that would be like a lower area. So it was, everything settled down into Bavel. Yishem Kichol Kiloichel Shkatzim Ramasim Vahavada Yismachu Ismachi. Problem is that, but they dissolved. So what's the problem? Why are you eating Shkatzim Ramasim? Amri Kivan Demalki Gazbe Rabbanan. What it means is like this: since eating the dirt is harmful, so they made a decree that it's as if you're eating the shkatzim and remasim. Not that it's actually prohibited because there's worms there. It's just that they didn't want you to do that. There was this fellow. He ate a clod of dirt, of red clay. It's gardishta. And then he ate some tachli, we said was cress. type of leafy vegetable. Well, it started to grow inside him, and it pierced his heart, and he died. I used to have these kid stories about this guy that grew a cherry tree out of his head or something, because he ate dirt and swallowed a pit. Okay, verachatzt v'sacht v'samta simleisayach. This is Nami telling Rus that she should bathe, she should put on ointments, she should put on her clothing, and she should go to Bayas in the middle of the night. Amar Abelazar, Elu begadim shel Shabbos. When it says put on your clothing, she said put on your Shabbos clothing. Ten lachacham v'yachamaydi. Give a bit to the wise and they become even smarter. Amar Abelazar, Zurus Amayaviyah v'shmol haramasi. Abelazar says, this is referring to Rus. Nami told her something and she did something even smarter. It's referring to Shmuel because Eli told him something and he did something even smarter. Rus, how did she do something? What did she do? Nami said, get all dressed up, bathe, put on the perfumes, and then you'll get dressed up and you'll go down to the granary. But by her, she did the opposite. She went to the granary and then she did everything that her mother-in-law told her. That means that she didn't walk in the streets all dressed up. People would think she was a prostitute with all the perfumes and everything, walking like that. Shmuel, what did Shmuel do? Eli told him, go lay down. If the voice comes again, what happened was Shmuel was hearing a voice saying, Shmuel. So it sounded like Eli. So he goes to Eli, he says, yes, what did you want? So Eli says, I didn't say anything. So he goes back to lay down and he hears it again. And it sounds like Eli. So he goes back, he says, yes, here I am. What do you want? So Eli says, I didn't say anything. Eli says, it must be you're hearing a voice from God. Go lay down. When it comes again, say, V'marta, daber Hashem, speak God. Kishemei avdecha, because your servant is listening. That's what the instructions were. But when it came to him actually doing it, Hashem, Shmuel, God came and it called like it did before, Shmuel. He said, speak because your servant is listening, but he didn't want to say Hashem's name just in case it wasn't really Hashem. He was cautious. He didn't want to say Hashem's name in case it wasn't, it was a fake. She went and she came and she gathered in the field. She was going from place to place until she found people that were appropriate. This is Rus, that she could go with to get the harvest, to get the grain to eat. Boaz asked to the lad that's overseeing the harvesters, who is this girl? Is that what Boaz does? He's a judge over there. He's supposed to be, he's asking about who the girls are, he's asking about a girl that's walking around. No, he saw that she was very wise. If 2 stalks fell, she would take it. 3, she wouldn't take. She knew the halachas. That's how it works with a convert. They know all the halachas better than everyone else. They have to learn. So she knew the halachas. So that's the law of leket. The stalks that fall, 3 you can't take. You can only take 2. The Masnisatana, the Brisa says, he saw that she was very modest. When she was taking the grain, if the grain was standing up, she would take it standing up. If the grain was on the floor, she didn't bend over to pick it up. She sat down to pick it up. And you should stay together with my young men. This is Boaz telling to Rus. maybe it's supposed to be ledaber. Is bias? Is it the way of bias to speak with the women? She saw what she gave. He saw what she gave up. Arpa goes back to her family, to her royal family. Rus could have done the same. She goes together with Nami, who has nothing. He says this is someone special. Bayas tells her at the time of eating, come over here, come eat over here with us. Amar Balazar Remez Ramzala, he was giving her a hint. I see the Malchus Beis David Latzis Mimcha. What's going to happen is Beis David, the kingdom of David is going to come out from you. Diksiv Bei Haloim, because by the kingdom of David it also says Haloim, which means here. Shenemar V'Yavei Amelech David V'Yetzel Fnei Hashem Mi Anoichi Hashem and we basically Visani Adelaim. Who am I, God, that you brought me until here? He uses the word Haloim. That's the word that Boaz used. B'Tavalta Pischa B'Chaimetz. You will dip your bread, your pita, that's the Hebrew, your bread, your pas, in vinegar. Amra Balazar Mikan Shachaimetz Yafel Hasharif. This must mean that vinegar is good in the heat. Reb Shmuel Bar Nachmani says, Remez Ramazla, he's giving her a hint. Yes, you'll have children that are going to be good, but one of them will not be. One of your descendants is going to be Manu Menashe. Menashe, his actions are going to be as sour, as difficult as vinegar. And she sat next to the harvesters. On the side, but not amongst. Why? Hinting to her that there's going to be a division there. Malchus Beis David is going to be divided. There's going to be a division between Beis David and the 10 tribes. And he gave to her the toasted grains, and she ate. Amar Abelazar Vateichal. She ate. Everything here that's happening in Megillus Rus is an allusion for what's going to happen later. We made David. She's going to eat in the days of David Vatispa, and she was satisfied. That's a continuation of the pasuk Mei Shlomo. That's in the days of Shlomo Vatesa, and she had remaining. That's Bimei Chizkiah, during the days of Chizkiah, all good kings. Ikadam Rivatecha Bimei David. Some say that she ate in the days of David Ubi Mei Shlomo. That's referring to Shlomo's generation as well. Vatispa, and she was satisfied. That's Bimei Chizkiah. Vatesa Bimei Rebbe, and she had remaining in the days of Rebbe, who's a descendant of Rus, a descendant of David. Amar Mar. The master taught, Aharire the Rebbe, the stable master of Rebbe, the person that was in charge of the horses. Habi Atir, Mishvar Malka was richer than the Persian king, Shvar Malka. Rebbe was very wealthy. Basnisa Tana, Braisa taught, Bateichel Bailam Hazeh, the pasuk is referring to this world. Batispa Limaisa Mashiach, shall eat. In this world shall be satisfied in the days of Mashiach V'Teisel Asalavai, will be remaining in the future world. B'tachas kavoidai. Okay, now we jump to another pasuk simply because we mentioned Rebbe Lazar and Rabbi Yechanan and Reb Shmuel Bar Nachmani. So now we're going to translate a different pasuk that they discuss. It has really nothing to do with Rus, apparently. It says V'tachas kavoidai. It's referring to the army of Assyria. They're all going to die, the whole army. And how are they dying? Well, there was this plague in the night, and all the soldiers die. But the pasuk says, under. Tachas has two translations. Tachas can mean under or in place of. Kvaidai has three possible translations. Actually, two. Kvaida could mean the clothing, like Rabbi Yechanan held. Honor is clothing, as we learned on a page before. Kvaida could also mean the body. In Yikad, Yikoidesh, there'll be a burning, like the burning of fire. Okay, now let's see what this means. Rabbi Yechanan. Rabbi Yechanan translates the pasuk. He says, Tachas Kvaidai, under the clothing.
there's going to be a burning. That means the bodies are going to burn. Rabbi Yochanan Tamei. Rabbi Yochanan goes according to his reasoning. Like we learned on the page before, the Rabbi Yochanan Karlamani Mechabdusa. Rabbi Yochanan called his clothing his honor. Rabbi Lazar Aimer, Tachas Kvaidai, Mamish. He learns Tachas Kvaidai means instead of his kvaida, and kvaida would mean the body. Was burnt. In other words, there's no machlekes here that the body was burnt. The question here is how to translate the pasuk. According to Rabbi Yochanan, it's under the clothing it was burnt. That means the body was burnt. According to Rabbi Lezer, instead of the body was burnt. That means was a fire, meaning the same thing. And Rabbi Shmuel Bar Nachmani Amar Tachas Kvaida K'Shevis Bnei Aaron. He has his own pshat. Shmuel Bar Nachmani says under the body was like the burning of the sons of Aaron. They just were their life went out, but the bodies were still intact. Inside their bodies was burnt. Rabbi Yochanan says, how do you know that it's honorable to change the clothing for Shabbos? In general, that's something that's honorable. It says you should, when you're taking out the ashes, not the Trumas Adeshin, but the removing of the ashes that were on the Mizbeach, you have to wear other clothes. Because that wasn't a real Avodah. The Trumas Hadeshin in the morning wasn't Avodah. But the cleaning off of the ashes of the Mizbeach was taken outside the temple. So you wear other clothes. Rabbi Shmuel taught, Torah is teaching us proper manners. The clothing that you use to cook for the master are not the ones that you serve the drink. When you come to the table, you have to wear something else. Rabbi Chia Bar Abba says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, it's shameful for a Talmud Chacham to wear torn shoes in the marketplace. But Rav Acha Bar Chanina Nafak, 1 second. Rav Acha Bar Chanina wore torn shoes. Amar Rav Acha, Breder Rav Nachman, the issue was if there's a patch on top of a patch. Regular torn shoes is okay. But once they're torn and then you have to patch them and then the patches start to tear, so that's already too much. That you shouldn't wear. Rabbi Chia Bar Abba says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, any Talmud Chacham, that there's a fat stain, an oil stain, some fat on his clothing is chayiv misa. Shnemar kol misana yoav umaves. All those that hate me love death. Al tikr misana yalamasniyai, which means like this. It's not all those that hate me. It's all those people that cause me to be hated. This is the Torah talking. Why? Because people say, look at the people that study Torah, they look so gross. Clothing, dirty. I'm not going to study Torah. So that is Avum Aves, they love death. Ravina Amar, Rivad Itmar, not Rivav, not a fatty stain. Rivad has two possibilities. Both of them are one worse than the other. Either Rivad means semen, zera, or it means blood, a blood stain, which would probably also mean blood of Nida somehow got onto his clothing. However, there is no argument between these two opinions because there's an outer garment that would have the oil stain on it. There was the inner garment that would have the rivad, which is the zera, or the blood. It's a machlekes Rashi and Rabbi Nachman how rivad is translated. It says over there in the pasuk that Yeshaya walked for 3 years
naked and barefoot. The Gemara says, Rabbi Yochanan says, it doesn't mean that he was actually naked for 3 years walking around. It says, Aram bebegadim beluim. Naked means that his clothing were torn. V'yachaf menalim hamatalan. And barefoot with the torn shoes. I don't think it's in style anymore. For a while there was a style to wear torn jeans. I don't see it so much anymore. But anyway, that would be Yeshaya's style. If anyone asks, what do you mean? It's Yeshaya. Tanan Hassam, it was taught over there regarding mikvah, chatzitza by the mikvah. It's a Mishnah mikvahs. Revav al amardei chaitzas. If there's a fat stain on a mardeya, it's a saddle or the reins of. If you want to put it in the mikveh, you have to clean it off because it's chaitzas. Shimon Gamliel says no. A small stain is not chaitzas. If it's the size of an Italian isser, it's a coin, then it's chaitzas. What about on clothing? If it's so small that it didn't seep through, it's only on one side, that's not chaitzas. But if it's large enough that it seeped through to the other side, that's chaitzas. Rabbi Yehuda says, name Rabbi Shmuel even one side, it's chaitzas. Reb Shimon ben Lakish asked from Chanina, you went through all these details about clothing, but you left out the details about the saddle. When it said that it's chaitzitz by the saddle, is that on one side or on both sides? I don't know. I never heard. However, I did hear something similar. The Tanan, started in the Mishnah. Rabbi Yossi says, if it's a builder, the Banoim, then a stain on their clothes, even if it's on one side, it's a chatzitza. But if it's a boor is same Hebrew and English, like an ignorant person, mishnei tzadim, then it needs to be on both sides. Now a saddle shouldn't be any more stringent than the clothing of a human being, even if he's a boar. Saddle is the clothing of an animal. So it shouldn't be if a boar can wear it, if it's a stain on one side, it's not a chatzitza. It's not an interruption between the material and the water of the mikveh. Then a saddle should also be not, a stain on one side shouldn't be an interruption. Now it goes back, it says, my banoim. What are the banoim, the builders? It's not actual builders. It's referring to Talmidei Chachamim, the sages, that they're involved in the construction of the world. Rabbi Yochanan now explains who this is. Who is a Talmid Chacham? The Gemara in Neilah Metzias says that if a person says that it's mine, he's supposed to give a sign. But let's say he can't give a sign, but he says, I know it's mine, I just recognize it, I can tell it's mine. I don't have a specific sign that I can give you, but it looks exactly like mine. I recognize it. So if he's a Talmid Chacham that never lies and never changes his word, so you can give him, you can trust him and give it back to him. Yeah, it gives three things that a Talmid Chacham is allowed to lie about. But who's a Talmid Chacham that this applies to? So this is someone, a Talmid Chacham, that's careful if his clothing are inside out and you can see the seam, so he turns it over. It's very lenient. Most people I know do that. Rabbi Yochanan says, who's a Talmid Chacham that is could be appointed an official over the community? Someone that you can ask him a halacha in any area of the Torah, and he can answer even in Masechtas Kala. Masechtas Kala is one of the small Masechtas which discusses Kala, B'lei Bracha, the blessings that are said by the chuppah. Now, there's a tradition that a chassan, a Kohen should marry a Bas Talmid Chacham. Let me say that. No, let me do it the other way. A Bas Kohen, a Talmid Chacham should marry a Bas Kohen. That's the tradition. So, if someone isn't a Talmid Chacham, he's going to marry a girl. Her name is Cohen. So he learns Masechta Kala. Because from these Gemaras that said, who's a Talmid Chacham? Someone that knows Masechtas Kala. That's a Talmid Chacham, so that satisfies it. So that's where this came from, where they learn Masechta Kala.
I thought the Bas Kohen should preferably marry a Kohen.
Preferably marry a Kohen or a Talmid Chacham.
David Leib Cohen is on the chat, so
yeah, so not every Cohen is a Cohen. It's like Smith. Okay. Okay, so, but really what the Gemara really means is that you have to know everything, including Masechta Kala, right? Amar Rabbi Yechon, Talmid Chacham Shneir Mitzvah Lasis LeMelachtai. Who's a Talmid Chacham that the community, the city, needs to perform his work for him? He shouldn't have to go to work. They should support him. This is someone that leaves his own interest and he's only involved in the interests of heaven. The community only has to supply him with bread. He doesn't have to do everything. He just has to survive. Doesn't say if it's Zach's bread, Chaim. Okay. Who's a Talmid Chacham? Someone you can ask him any question in any area and he answers. What's the difference if he's a Talmid Chacham or not? To appoint him as an official over the community. If it's in one Masechta, in other words, the Masechta that he's learning, he can answer. So then he could be appointed over his area, an official. But if it's in any Masechta, any Masechta, Breish Mesifta, then he could be the head of the yeshiva. Okay. Reb Shimon ben Lakish Aimer. Maybe it's Reb Shimon ben Levi. I don't have it. Does anyone have a Gemara that has it spelled out? It's Reb Shimon ben Lakish or Reb Shimon ben Levi? It was Reb Yechanan before, so it could be Reb Shimon ben Lakish. Elu Kalim, he's going back on Banoyan, when he said that builders, if they have a stain, so Rabbi Yechanan took this to mean Rabbi Yossi. No, Rabbi Yechanan took it to mean that it's referring to Torah sages. A stain on their clothing is, even on one side, is a chatzitza. Reb Shimon Lakish says, no, it's not talking about Talmidei Chachamim. It's a builder is talking about Kelim ha'olayirin. In Banoyan, Olayirin are people that attend the attendants at the bathhouse. They wore very classy clothing. So their clothing needed to be perfectly clean. Haboim in Medina Siyam, they come from the overseas, imported, China. Doesn't mean it's classy. So Lememra the Chivrinino, does that mean that it's white? Because if it needs to be so clean, it's probably because it's white. But there's a problem with this, because Rabbi Yanai told his children, Banai, my sons, don't bury me in white clothes, don't bury me in black clothes. Levanim, I don't want to be buried in white clothes. If I end up in white clothes, I'm going to be, if I don't merit in the judgment in heaven, I'll be sitting over there with everyone wearing black. And I'll be like a chassan amongst the mourners. I'll be so out of place. I didn't dress properly for the occasion. Shchayrim, Shem la yezkeve kavel ben chasanim. I don't want to wear black clothes because maybe I will merit, and the other people there won't. And I'll be wearing, maybe I'll be wearing black clothes, and I'll be like a mourner amongst the grooms. Ella b'kelim ha'olayim, bury me in colored clothes. That way it's not clear. It should be like green, but actually it's red. Haboim medina sayam, bury me in those clothes that come from overseas. Alma sumkininu, we see that it's red. You're telling me that it's white, and there's one stain on it. There's a problem. Really, the red. The Gemara says like kasha. They have undergarments and they have outer clothes. And the outer clothes would be red, and the undergarments are white. Rabbi Shmuel says that you fold the clothes, chulu, etc. But then there was a whole discussion over here about the fats on Shabbos and on Yom Kippur, if they can be brought. There's a machlekes Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says you can't bring Shabbos fats on Yom Kippur, and you can't bring Yom Kippur fats on Shabbos. Rabbi Shmuel said that Shabbos on Yom Kippur you could bring, but Yom Kippur on Shabbos, no. Taner Rabbanan, Sabraisa, Ila Shabbos b'Shabbat. The offering of Shabbos on its Shabbos. Limit al chel Shabbos shekreivim b'Yom Kippurim. This teaches us that the fats of Shabbos could be brought on Yom Kippur. This is going to be the opinion of Rabbi Shmuel. Yachal afshal Yom Kippurim b'Shabbos. Maybe Yom Kippur on Shabbos. The fats of Yom Kippur could be brought on Shabbos. Talmud Leimer b'Shabbat on its Shabbos. No, it's an exclusion there. It only goes one way. Yom Kippur can't be brought on Shabbos. Shabbos could be brought on Yom Kippur. Div Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Kiva Omer Oila Shabbos b'Shabbat. Kiva says the oila of Shabbos, the offering of Shabbos, is brought on its Shabbos. Limit al chavi Shabbos is craving be Yom Tov. That means you can bring it on Yom Tov. In other words, if Motzei Shabbos is Yom Tov, you can bring it. Yachalaf b'Yom Kippurim, maybe Yom Kippur as well. Talmud Leimer b'Shabbat. Can't bring it on Yom Kippur. So Rabbi Kiva is more strict. He says you can't bring the Shabbos on Yom Kippur. Rabbi Shmuel said you can. When you look into this is an expression, means when you look into this, Divrei Rabbi Shmuel, Nadarim and Nadav is craving b'Yom Tov. Chiyatz shekra l'Yom Kippurim. Divrei Rabbi Kiva, Nadarim and Nadav is ain't craving b'Yom Tov. Chiyatz shekra l'Mishrei b'Yom Tov. It says like this. Why does Rabbi Akiva use the pasuk to tell me that I'm allowed to bring the fats of Shabbos on Yom Tov? Why does he use a pasuk to tell me that? And why does Rabbi Shmuel just ignore the Yom Tov entirely? He says it's only talking about Yom Kippur. He says you look into this, you'll find that there's another machlekes Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva. Is a person allowed to bring a personal offering on Yom Tov? Rabbi Shmuel says yes. So if you're allowed to bring a personal offering on Yom Tov, then for sure the offerings of Shabbos are allowed to be brought on Yom Tov. So what do I need a pasuk for? Yom Kippur. That's Rabbi Shmuel's opinion. Rabbi Kiva says you're not allowed to bring your own donation offerings on Yom Tov. So, offerings of Shabbos, am I allowed to bring them on Yom Tov? I need a pasuk to tell me that. But I don't have any pasuk that allows Yom Kippur. So that's the basis for this. There's a background to this machlekes. Amar Reb Zera. Reb Zera says, Ki avina bebavel. Zera is the one that fasted, so that he should forget everything that he learned. But Chaim, I remember we discussed this, that there's two gersos. One is he fasted to forget, or he fasted not to forget. From here I have a raya to the other pshat, that he fasted not to forget, because he now quotes. He quotes, otherwise his fasting didn't work. Ki avina bebavel avi amri. When I was in Bavel, they would say, Haditanya, this said it was taught in a brayse, Yom Kippur and Shchali is Erev Shabbos, Yom Kippur, that's on Erev Shabbos. Lo yahayu taiken. They wouldn't blow the shofar, which is normally done on Erev Shabbos. The Gemara in Sukkah says that they would blow 6 times to stop the people in the field to work. The people should come in from the field. There was a whole discussion of when they would blow the shofar. But if Yom Kippur is coming into Shabbos, they don't blow the shofar because there's no difference over there between Yom Kippur and Shabbos. There's nothing they need to remind anyone. But Motzei Shabbos, if Yom Kippur is on Motzei Shabbos, be very difficult, but in those days it was possible. We have it arranged that we shouldn't have 2 days of Shabbos like that. Mamash, you can't do any cooking. Well, you can set it up before. How would you set up the thing, Yom Kippur on Mitzvah Shabbos? Well, Friday would be regular Shabbos, and then it becomes Yom Kippur. That would work. The other way would be difficult. If Friday is Yom Kippur, it would be very difficult. How would you have a cholent for 2 days sitting over there? You can't set it up on Yom Kippur. You'd have to eat cold food. Mitzvah Shabbos, Mitzvah Shabbos, if Yom Kippur is Mitzvah Shabbos, they wouldn't make Havdalah. They wouldn't say Amavdal ben Kodesh l'Kodesh. Of course, they can't drink, but they wouldn't make Havdalah. It's a discussion in Shulchan Aruch. If someone accepts a fast on himself, Mitzvah Shabbos, how's he supposed to do Havdalah? So if it's a personal fast, he's allowed to do Havdalah earlier on Shabbos, and he drinks the wine. If it's a public fast, it doesn't work. You can't do Havdalah early, because when on a public fast, it would actually become that holiday. So it would become Yom Kippur. He wouldn't be allowed to drink. So he doesn't do, whatever the case is, he doesn't do Havdalah in Shemon Esrei. Kisalikna lahasam. He thought that Divrei Akol. When in Bavel, he thought that everyone holds this. However, Kisalikna lahasam. When I went up over there to, what is he saying over there? Maybe he went back to Bavel. Kisalikna lahasam. When I went over there, should have said lahacha. When I came here. Ashkechise liYehuda breder of Shmuel bar Pazi, the Yosef become I found. I'm sorry?
It says when he went to Eretz Yisrael.
Yeah, but it says lahasam. Lahasam means there. It sounds like he's talking about that he left. Or else he would have said kisalikna lahacha. I don't know. So I found Yehuda breder of Shimon Paz Yosef Kamar that he was sitting and he said the following: Rabbi Akiva. That story is Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva is the one that would make no distinction between Shabbos and Yom Kippur. Because Shabbos is not brought on Yom Kippur, the fats of Shabbos aren't brought on Yom Kippur, and the fats of Yom Kippur aren't brought on Shabbos. So we don't have to blow the shofar b'chlal. We know Shabbos is, there's no distinction between Shabbos and Yom Kippur. The Rabbi Yishmael, if it would be Rabbi Yishmael, even though Merchel b'Shabbos kreim b'Yom Kippurim, the fact that the fats of Shabbos are brought on Yom Kippur, litka, you should blow the shofar. Ki yechid levidu, the Chav Shabbos kreim b'Yom Kippurim, to know that the fats of Shabbos are brought on Yom Kippur. Something's odd with this, because you would blow the other way. You would blow on Erev Shabbos, and the fats are not brought on Shabbos. The Erev Shabbos is a time of blowing. There's some issues over here. Rashi and Tosfos are discussing how this works. But whatever the case is, because there's a distinction, Shabbos versus Yom Kippur, then they should blow the shofar. But I responded to him, Kainim Zrizim. The Kayanim are Zrizim. For them, you don't have to remind them anything. The blowing of the shofar is not for Kayanim. It's for the rest of the people. So you can't make a distinction because there's a machlekes Rabbi Yishmael and Rabbi Akiva, who's the author of that brisa, because for Kayanim, either way, you don't have to blow the shofar. Amalei Mar Kshisha breder Rav Chisda Rav Ashi. Rav Chisda was a Kayan, by the way. So Mar Kshisha, the son of Rav Chisda, says to Rav Ashi, Miyamrin and Kayanim Zrizim. Do we say the Kayanim are really Zrizim? But we have a Mishnah Shalish Lavdali Batal Ni Malacha Shalish Lavdali Ben Kodesh L'Chol. Says they would blow the shofar in the Beis Hamikdash. So the Gemara answers, "Kadam Rabbi l'Shar Amad B'Yerushalayim, Hachanami l'Shar Amad B'Yerushalayim." They blow the shofar not for the people, for the Kayanim. It's for the rest of the people of Yerushalayim. They needed it. V'litka ki yechid ladi d'shar b'knivas yerek min amincha l'mayla. Very interesting discussion now. You're not supposed to cut off the tops of vegetables on Shabbos. You know, there's sometimes on the carrots, it's like the greens that are sticking out on the top that you're not going to eat. you're not supposed to cut those off to preparing for a meal for Motzei Shabbos. It's preparation. However, on Yom Kippur, there's an exception. On Yom Kippur, you're allowed to start, min hamincha l'mayla, to start preparing for the meal that's afterwards. It's a leniency that was given because of the fast. People are hungry. You're allowed to get things started. You shouldn't have to wait afterwards to do every detail of the preparation. So min hamincha l'mayla, it's a derabanan, and it's permissible. Now, the only thing is that that's only allowed on Yom Kippur. It's not allowed on Shabbos. So here's a distinction, Shabbos and Yom Kippur. You should blow the shofar to show that Yom Kippur, if Shabbos is going into Yom Kippur, you should blow the shofar to show that this is something that's permissible. Well, what do you want to say? You blow the shofar to show that something's permissible, and you blow the shofar on Shabbos. Okay, you can blow the shofar to say that something is prohibited, but to allow something, that we're not going to make permit the blowing of the shofar, which itself is a rabbinic prohibition, to allow something else that should be permissible. He gave a different answer. He says, what are you doing over here? You're blowing the shofar on Erev Yom Kippur, on Shabbos, to tell you that tomorrow afternoon you're allowed to do knivas yerek. You're allowed to cut off the tops of vegetables. That's too far away. We only blow the shofar for immediate. It's like an alarm clock. Or else there's going to be a snooze button, right? And you won't even remember what's going on then. So the Gemara says, what are you saying? According to this pshat, according to Rav Shisha Breder Ravidi, he's saying that they do blow the shofar for something permissible. According to Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yosef? According to Rabbi Yosef, they don't blow the shofar to permit something. Shisha Breder Ravidi says, why don't you blow the shofar here? It's permissible, you should blow the shofar. We're saying it's too far away. That means that if it's close, then they would be allowed to blow the shofar, even though it's to permit something. But Tanan, Yom Tov Shchal Yosef Shabbos taken v'lei mavdilin. If Yom Tov is on Erev Shabbos, they blow the shofar, but they don't say Havdalah in between Yom Tov and Shabbos. Motzei Shabbos mavdilin v'lei taken, but after Shabbos, they say Havdalah, Mavdil min Kodesh l'Kodesh, right? But they don't blow the shofar to tell you that it's Yom Tov. But you're immediately allowed to shecht on Yom Tov. So you should blow the shofar, according to Rav Shisha Breder Ravidi, to tell you that it's permissible to shecht. That's something that's permissible right away. It's not tomorrow. The best pshat we said was Rabbi Yosef's pshat, that you don't blow the shofar to tell you that something is permitted. Amar Rab Zera, Amar Rav Huna. Rab Zera says, in the name of Rav Huna, Ramila Amar Rab Abba Amar Rav Huna, some say Rab Abba said the name of Rav Huna, Yom Tov Shchal Yis B'Shabbos Asa B'Knivas Yerek. What happens if, Yom Kippurim, not Yom Tov. Yom Kippurim, that's on Shabbos, it's prohibited to perform these acts, even though Yom Kippur you're allowed it, but don't forget it's still Shabbos. Because of it's Shabbos as well, Shabbos Yom Kippur, unless Yom Kippur is on Saturday, you can't do it because it's a Shabbos prohibition. It's a Yom Kippur prohibition, it was permitted. As a Shabbos permission, it's forbidden. Amar Rav. One second, let me see what this is. Amar Rav Mana. Rav Mana taught. Tana, how do you know that it's prohibited if it's on Shabbos? Yom Kippur and Shabbos together. To cut the tops off the vegetables. It says Shabbosin, and that means that you have to stop something. Lamai, what are you stopping? Are you saying that you're not allowed to do work? Well, that's obvious. It must be talking about that extra work, the trimming of the vegetables, that is usher because it's on Shabbos. Shmamina. Okay, that's a raya. Am Rab Chia Barabba, Am Rab Yechanan, Yom Kippur Shchal Yis B'Shabbos Mutar B'Knivas Yerek. It says you're allowed to cut the vegetables. Meisvei, the Gemara has a question. It says you're not allowed to, the Bryce we just quoted. And what is it talking about? Are you talking about work? You're not allowed to do it. What's Rabbi Barabba saying that you are allowed to cut the vegetables on Shabbos? That's Yom Kippur. It says loy lam lemalacha. Really, it's referring to work. It's not a kasha because there's an asay and there's a leis asay. We said leisasa kol malacha is the leis asay and Shabbosin is the asay. Tiny kavasei the Rabbi Yechon, we can bring a raya that supports this. Yom Kippur Shchalias b'Shabbos mutter b'knivas yerek. The Brisa says clearly Yom Kippur and Shabbos is allowed. Okay. Reb Chia Barabba says name Rabbi Yechon, and if Yom Kippur is on a weekday, you can crack nuts. And you're allowed to remove pomegranate seeds. Because of anxiety. It's Yom Kippur afternoon, you want to get things started, you're allowed to do that. The Bei Rabbi Yehuda Mekanvi Krava. In the house of Rabbi Yehuda, the members of his household, they would trim the cabbages. The Bei Rabba Gardi Kari. The house of Rabba, they would scrape the squash, the gourds. Once they saw that they were doing this earlier, before the afternoon, he told them, a letter has come from the west in the name of Rabbi Yechanan that it's prohibited. Now, he said that so that they should accept it, that it came from the name of Rabbi Yechanan. There's an interesting discussion here why he was allowed to say that if it didn't actually happen.